And I like to say to people, are you listening? Because there's so much stuff in the news that you've got to really understand yourself and I'm not saying what the truth is, but you have to figure that out yourself. And this is some of the things that I listen to that tell me, okay, hey, what's going on? And I'm going to give you a few of them right here. Everybody, welcome. Mike, the Golden State Picker. Ooh, different angle, a different place. I'm in my backyard, and I thought, you know what? It's a nice day out. If I'm in the shade, I can do this video out here and kind of give you a different feel instead of in the garage doing this video. And if you're new, I'm Mike. I'm from San Jose, California, Silicon Valley, and we talk about reselling. We talk about a lot of things here at this channel, not just what we found or what we sold. And today we're going to do a follow-up video on the video where I was discussing the eBay downturn. It seemed like eBay's sales had softened a little bit. And I thought, I got a huge response from that, a lot of comments and everything. So I thought, you know what, let's just make a follow-up video and let's talk about things in general, the economy, reselling, the things that I have done over my 35 plus years of retail and my reselling that I've done in the last 5 years, and try and put something together that is more positive, can give you some ideas about if we do hit into a recession. You never know if you're going to really get into a recession. You don't know it until it's almost too late, and that's what they're worried about. They're worried about, hey, are we in one and we're just not seeing it quite yet, all that kind of stuff. So the pundits and all of them, they're playing all these games, and basically here we are as, workers, business people, all that kind of stuff. We're trying to guess which way to go, and we've got to make a living. We've got to pay our bills, all that kind of stuff. So I thought, let's just do a follow-up video, discuss what my feelings are, give you one thing that really made a difference in my life, and what I did that I carried over into my reselling. Okay, from my business, my main business. If you're new to my channel, I owned a furniture store for over 30 plus years. So that is my main business prior to this. And now I'm 5 years into reselling full time. So we need to look at the crucial question of what is happening in today's economy and eBay. And let's say Amazon too, because I'm in both. I do about 50% sales eBay, 50% sales Amazon. And basically, what I'm finding is right now, just to show you my numbers for Amazon, I'm up about 3% year over year from January 1st to July 31st on Amazon. Very good. But the last 2 months with Amazon have been on the downward slide a little bit. You can feel that. Now on eBay, I was surprised. I went back in and looked, and eBay, I am up 8% January 1st to July 31st. So I'm like, whoa, okay, that's not too bad. So, you got to take it all in perspective, right? And make sure that you look at the whole picture, not just a snapshot of one. And then you've got to look at your business and the process. And you hear me talk about that all the time. I'm so much different than everybody else. That's another thing. The area that I'm in, right, is so much different than the area you're in. I'm in Silicon Valley, if you don't know, San Jose, California. A lot of wealth. So I find different things than somebody who is in Lexington, Kentucky. More rural areas. Lexington's pretty big. But let's say if you were in my area of the Jacksonville, North Carolina, my second home that I have, in that general area, it's a lot different. So what you're finding there and what I'm finding here are completely different. We have to keep that in mind. And, those things do play a factor, all right? So with all the crazy stuff going on, where do we stand as the economy goes, in my opinion, right? So I look at a lot of things, and I like to say to people, are you listening? Because there's so much stuff in the news that you've got to really understand yourself and I'm not saying what the truth is, but you have to figure that out yourself. And this is some of the things that I listen to that tell me, okay, hey, what's going on? And I'm going to give you a few of them right here. The first thing that I really looked at is the inflation issue. We have had inflation in the past 2.5, 3 years that at minimum is 15%. Some people will say higher, but I want to say at least at minimum 15%. That's a factor. That is a tax. If you don't know, inflation is a tax. It is one of the worst taxes that can hit a middle class economy, is inflation. That's why they're so worried about that and the effects of it on the economy, because it takes real dollars out of middle class America and lower income Americans, period. The upper, people who have millions and billions, maybe it affects them, but it doesn't affect them nearly as much as the middle class. So it is a middle class tax, and that is one thing that I've been looking at. And they've said they got it under control, but the problem is it's bounced up 15%. It hasn't gone back down 15%. So it's a factor that we have to look at. The other issues are psychological issues. The war in the Middle East, the war in Ukraine, those fears play on people's minds, and then they pull back or they get a little nervous and they want to hoard their money. You kind of understand, I'm not saying hoard their money, but pull their money closer to themselves, right? Then we have the election. The elections always are fraught, and now they're even worse, right? It's so much 50% down the middle, so that's a difficult situation. And again, it starts to play into people's whole psyche. We've got school starting, all of that kind of stuff. And another one that kind of set me to thinking, and that was Intel. Intel just announced that their numbers weren't good, and they're going to lay off 15% of their workforce. That works out to 16,000 employees. That's a lot of employees. So that is a huge signal to me. Also, Amazon missed their earnings. And I was thinking to myself, well, my Amazon last 2 months have been really kind of sketchy. It just seems a little weird, right? Even though I'm up 3% for the year, but that felt a little weird. The other thing that plays a factor is interest rates. Now, I'm old enough to remember interest rates at 18%. And maybe even higher. I can't remember. I know they were at least 18%. Really outrageous. The years of stagflation. That was the Jimmy Carter to the Reagan era when Ronald Reagan took over. There was a lot of this high interest rate stuff. It was terrible. So imagine buying a home and paying 16-17% interest. It was really a tough ride. So when you see interest rates now at 7%, that's actually a normal pattern, okay? But due to the fact that since 2008, when the interest rates were down, that's almost like 16 years. Now people, the 16-year span, they have felt these interest rates being low, and they want them low. Well, 7% is pretty normal, but now we're finding out that with the Intel numbers and a bunch of other stuff, they were saying a week prior, they were saying that the Fed had navigated a soft landing. I love that, right? The terms that they come up with. I mean, they play with all these fancy words, soft landing. And then this week, Intel comes out, Amazon comes out, and job numbers come out, and all of it starts to tank. They're going, the Fed has missed it. The Fed has made a mistake. They've blown it. They need to cut interest rates in September by their pricing in 0.5%. It's the winds are blowing left and right and left, up and down. It's like a tornado cycle going on, right? So all of these things like this are playing a factor when interest rates are normal at 7%, but the psyche of the American people is they need to be lower. Now, there's an interesting thing. I was listening to Dave Ramsey one day, and they said, is this a good time to buy a house, 7%? And Ramsey said, sure it is, if you can find a deal. The reason being is if interest rates come down, you can refinance and really get a good deal. So that's the thinking there. So there's some interesting things with interest rates. You can buy now, and then if interest rates drop 1 or 2%, you can refi and do pretty well with that. So keep that in mind. Now, the other thing is the national debt, $35 trillion. That's something that eventually has to be addressed some way. Some people will say it doesn't matter anymore. I say it does matter. It's just when will it matter, and who knows, right? That's my personal take on that. It is not good to have $35 trillion in debt. And one of the things that contributed to that was COVID. There was $5 trillion pushed into the economy via different aspects, healthcare, education, and people. And the people like me, even if you were working, you got money from the government. It seemed like it was always coming in. I remember California, gas prices spiked. They gave me a $500 gas card. All kinds of things like that. So the money from the COVID, I think, is finally basically drying up. That money is not out there anymore. People I've talked to, especially in education, that has tanked as far as the funds that are available to them. So they're having to readjust their budgets. California, we just had a huge budget shortfall. We had a rainy day fund, but now that rainy day fund has been tapped into. So what's the next phase if they have more problems? You got to be very, very careful here with these type of stuff in the economy. I'm not a financial expert, but I know that it doesn't feel right at times. Okay, so hey, I'm lucky. I have I'm 62 years old, and I've made some pretty good decisions. I've made bad decisions, but if the economy tanks right now, I mean, it might make me feel a little weird, but I think I'm in a good position to weather out that storm, right? So in times like this, one thing is certain that I'm going to tell you is cash will be king. This is your chance to prepare to seize opportunities and to understand the power of liquidity. Let me explain. Warren Buffett will tell you that cash is not king during inflation because the dollar is being devalued, basically. So cash is not king. But as a middle-class person or as a person of lower income, you have to have money to pay your bills and so forth and so on. Now, in business, cash is still king. And I'm going to explain how I came to this opinion, okay? About 20 plus years ago, when I owned my furniture store, I was playing around in golf with my wife, and we joined a gentleman who was with his wife, and he was from New Jersey, and we played the round, and I love that because we get to network, and it was a couple, so that was cool too. And we got to talking about what I did and what he did, and he was a little bit older than me, and he owned a check cashing business out of New Jersey, but he had a very unique business, and that business was he went to factories, and from the factories he would cash their checks at lunchtime. And the thinking was that they would not have to go to the bank or go to lunch. They could have it all right there and get it taken care of. And he did really well with that. But during the round, we were talking, and he said, Mike, he goes, how do you pay your bills with your business? And I said, well, I'm usually net 30, a few cash on delivery, but most of them were net 30. He said, I want you to think of something. I want you to think differently. I want you to think about going all COD. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, not OCD, but COD. So anyhow, what happened was he was explaining. He said, Mike, if you go COD, you will be ahead of the curve because you will own the furniture outright, not for net 30 or net 60. Sometimes in the furniture industry, you could get some terms like that. Also, some other industries, you could get net 120 because it was seasonal, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different plays. And I was mostly net 30. And he said, do this. Pay COD. Own the stuff pretty much flat out right if you can do it. What will happen is later on you will become, got a dog barking, hopefully you can't hear it too much. You will become more important to the companies because you pay cash. So in a downturn, now 2008 came, and he was right. I had been doing it for a couple of years. 2008 came along, and there was the financial crisis with the housing. I was now paying cash. Now, he said, when that happens, these vendors are going to come to you quicker because you pay cash. And they'll ship your product faster. So you will get quicker turns and stuff like that. And I thought, that sounds pretty cool. But there's also another thing. If you pay COD, a lot of them will give you 1.5% off. So if you had a $5,000 order, that could be $75. So there was all these little things, right? And the other thing, he said, there may be opportunities to purchase product at a discount because they need to offload. And if you have the ability to give them the cash, you're going to be golden, right? So I took to heart all that stuff, but I also took to heart something else that was told to me a long time ago, was to invest in technology. And what they meant by that was whatever you're doing, try to think forward, okay, long term. And I was lucky to have two employees who were heavily into computers, and we started our first website in around 2007, 2008, the time that the financial crisis hit. And it was fascinating how things were growing so fast. Long story short, we started our website early on. Back then, Amazon, Wayfair, Living Spaces, all of these places that sell furniture and all that kind of stuff now, they didn't have that capability. they had none of that logistics. It was very infancy oriented websites, and I managed to have that ability, and it was really kind of janky. It wasn't that great, but it worked to our advantage through those years. We grew our sales 22% because, number one, we were doing the COD, the cash, and we did the technology, which was the website, which drew people that we never had before into our store. We didn't do online purchases, but we were driving people to our store. So again, this COD, this cash, the cash position I was in enabled me to grow my business through that period. Now, later on, it flipped. Amazon, Wayfair, Living Space, all these bigger companies came in, and that's when I started to realize that, hey, look, maybe I don't want to be in this space anymore. And I got out about 2 years prior to COVID. I said, I'm done. I just don't want to do this anymore. And look at how lucky I got. That was the intuition I had. If I would have had to stay through COVID, who knows where I could be financially. I honestly, I don't know. It could be really, really bad. So basically, in times like this, the one thing is certain: cash is king. This is your chance to prepare to seize for the opportunity of something to come along. That's the key here. And I will use one more thing here on this particular point. Remember my friend's locker? He came to me because he knew I had the cash and I would treat him fair. I gave him his price, $2,800 for his locker, and then I have sold the pieces off since then. That's what I'm talking about. If you have the cash, they will find you. Your network will put people towards you. And when these economic times slow down, if you're in a strong position, you're going to be able to weather these positions, the situation a whole lot more. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes too. It also will make you a lot stronger when you come out of a recession. Can you imagine if you're doing this and you're doing really pretty good during a recession or a potential recession or whatever, a downturn, a psychological, all that kind of stuff, and all of a sudden it turns around and the economy starts burning again? Now, who knows? You just don't know, but you will be in a much stronger position. Here's another key. We're going to get into a few things you got to do overall to get into that position, right? Remember, managing a downturn requires sharp financial acumen. Know your business inside and out. You have to know. It doesn't matter if you're reselling or owning a furniture store. You have to know your business inside and out. You have to know where you stand, what you're good at, what you're not good at, all of that kind of stuff. And that is absolutely key to weathering these types of storms. So let me give you another one. I'm going to go into some financial kind of tips to think about. And you've heard a lot of these. On a personal level or business level, you need to focus on reducing debt. The more debt you carry, the more cash you'll need just to keep up with interest and principal payments. That's nothing new here. Every one of them are going to tell you that. You need to get down to no debt. And you can have a house and interest on your house and all that. I don't have car payments. I don't have credit card payments. That's it. Property taxes, you're always going to have those. But you need to get rid of that kind of debt. Student loan debt, that's a tough one right now. That's really hard. But you need to somehow figure that out. The better position debt-wise you're in, the better position you're going to be financially going down the road. The other thing, living within your means. Simple. If you make $100,000, don't spend 110. Don't spend 100,000. Spend 70,000. Save 30. There's these things you've got to learn to do. I used to always laugh when people would say, if I just had another $10,000 a year increase in my pay, I'd be okay. So they're making 100,000, now they're making 110. Guess what they do? They spend 110. It's a cycle that we have to break. We have to get into a situation where we live within our means. So keep that in mind. The other thing, this is important, is to manage our inventory wisely. And you're going to hear my famous saying in a minute, but we have to be able to keep our inventory manageable, where it's not just that we are doing this one thing, and that is don't buy just to buy. We have to buy smart. We have to buy educated guessing, that kind of thing. Even when I was in the furniture industry, I was trying to figure out where my best option was to sell. I had to have so many turns a year. If I put a sofa on the floor, that sofa could sit for 3 or 4 months. How many turns am I going to get out of that? The same thing. How fast can I turn my product over and over? You're not going to make perfect decisions all the time, but we need to learn to manage those inventory opportunities, that kind of thing, by not buying just to buy. And here, the real winners in tough times will be those with rock solid finances who can take advantage of opportunities as they come. Peter Lynch, he's the guy who, I think it was Merrill Lynch, he started Merrill Lynch. He said, you make the most of your money during a bear market, you just don't realize it at the time. Doesn't matter if it was a stock market, a bear market could be retail, okay? But you're gonna make most of your money during that bear market depending on how you go through it. And that's what I'm talking about, being able to pay for stuff cash, being able to get deals, get discounts, that kind of thing, even when they're tough, okay? Times are tough. Now I'm gonna talk about some things in general here, basically past failures. People are always saying, well, man, I've made so many mistakes. Well, here's something, right? Failures are just opportunities to start again. They make you smarter than before, okay? So you gotta take from the past and continue to learn from those mistakes. Boy, I've made so many mistakes, countless mistakes, over and over in my life. But it's when I learn from them that I become a lot better in everything. Just because things didn't go your way today doesn't mean something great isn't waiting for you tomorrow. So sales might not be great today. They might not be great in a month or 2 months. But hey, down the road, if we're persistent and we're doing the right things, that's when something great can happen. You just never know. You know, it was funny. I was thinking about this when I did that video. My sales were really kind of soft. It was kind of weird. And then all of a sudden I did the video and several people said, hey Mike, you did the video, my sales started to jump. Well, I did, and in 3 days, I sold 39 items, and then a day and a half later I had sold another 15. So I had sold almost 60 items in like 4 days. It was strange how that worked. So it's cyclical, it's up, it's down, it's a roller coaster, right? So keep that in mind. Now, here's something else. We've got to change our thinking a little bit too. We've got to become positive. The problem is too many people just dream and never take action. You don't want to be one of them. So dream big. Keep focused on that long-term vision. You hear me talk about that. Think about where you want to be 5-10 years from now, and just kind of focus and dream about getting to that point in your life, how you're going to get there and what it's going to be like when you get there. Just those kind of things. You need to have that internal motivation, right? Think about this. Positivity isn't about ignoring the negativity. Remember, positivity isn't about ignoring the negativity around you. It's about overcoming the negativity within you. That's it. You have to overcome the negativity. You know, I can say, just think positive. No, just be positive, all that kind of stuff. No, you've got to take these negatives and figure out how to spin them so they're not in your mind, right, all the time. Be positive about everything that you can. Focus on your vision, your long-term, and things will work out. Hey, look, I'm 62 years old, and I can go back and tell you many things that went wrong, but I'm here. And things are doing pretty good, and I'm pretty happy, so I keep that in mind. You know, I mean, that's all I can do. Peace, happiness, and effectiveness of your life are deeply connected to the quality of your thoughts. How simple is that, right? Think about that. Amazing, right? I'm going to leave you with a couple things here real quick, guys. This one's pretty good. I'm going to leave you with a Steve Jobs quote at the end, and then a personal one for myself. So as we navigate these uncertain times, stay prepared, stay positive, and trust your process. Opportunities are out there. You just have to be ready to seize them. And that's what we're talking about here. Being ready when the opportunity is there to step through the door, to be able to make that purchase, to be able to do that one thing that's going to push you to the next level, that kind of thing. So keep that in mind. Now, 2 things. One from the great Steve Jobs. Many of you will say, tyrant Steve Jobs. But hey, gotta admit, he gave us the Apple iPhone, the iMac. He gave us a lot of things, okay? This is what he said. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. Gotta look forward. Because we don't, back here, we've got them all connected, but we don't know how they're gonna relate coming forward. So keep that in mind. And then the last one, this is I hope I got it here. Where is it? Where did it go? I got it. I I put it down, and I just want to make sure that I get it to you, because a lot of you know that I'm a Christian, and my life has been changed. It was changed when I ran into my wife at age 19. That's when I quit drinking. I wasn't an alcoholic, but I had grown up in an alcoholic home, and I knew that if I didn't make some changes, something could possibly go wrong. And I ran into my wife, and I knew my wife. She was a Christian at that time, still a Christian. I shouldn't say at that time, but she was a Christian, and I kind of knew that. It was just some factors there. But I live my life kind of like this, and I want to let you hear this. Okay, finally, okay. Faith in Christ isn't about believing life will always go my way. It's about trusting that Christ will gradually reveal what's right for me. That's it in the long run. I mean, I have been blessed all my life, and you know, I don't pontificate on my channel, but I think it's important that you understand who I am, how I try to be. I'm not perfect or anything like that, but I'm here to help people, try to help people. This is the meaning of this channel, is to give people some inspiration, give people something to hang their hat on, to realize that if a guy like me can do it, you know, you hear that right over and over, but if somebody like me can do it, then you can do it. It's not easy, okay? We're not gonna say it is. A lot of these videos seem to make it feel like that sometimes. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes and all that. So please remember that. And if you like my videos, we ask you just hit the like, the subscribe, the bell notification, and you know, that's it. 2 videos a week. A lot of stuff we found, a lot of stuff we sold. We talk about reselling. So I really do appreciate you watching, and thanks, and we'll see you in my next video.